Hello and welcome to another Indo-German Business Talk, the monthly format of the Indo-German Centre for Business Excellence, where we talk with guests about different topics that are pertinent to Indo-German business relations. My name is Matthias Catón. I am your host, and I'm also the Deputy Chairman and Executive Director of the Indo-German Centre. Today's topic will be geopolitics, elections, and micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. As you know, we're in a record election year. There are elections all around the world coming up this year, including elections in the European Union to the European Parliament, and also parliamentary elections in India, but also many other countries that will vote in different sorts of contexts or contests throughout the year. And that's what we're going to talk about, but not just elections, not just geopolitics, but specifically looking at those issues from the angle of the smaller companies, not the big multinational conglomerates, but the smaller companies, so micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. We have two panelists, two guests here with us right now, and we're waiting for a third one who might join later, but we'll begin with the two that are here, and those are Dr. Hartmut Meyer. Welcome to our session here. Hartmut Meyer is a senior lecturer and an esteemed researcher at Fachhochschule für Ökonomie und Management, also known in Germany by its acronym FOM. He specializes in entrepreneurship and management of small and medium-sized companies, and he also excels as a management consultant for the hotel and catering industry. His roles on the board of the International Council for Small Business and as the federal president of Small Business Consultants in Germany have marked him as a key figure in the MSME advocacy and international dialogue, notably as the annual German speaker at the United Nations MSME Day and as the chair for the ICSB World Conference 2024 in Berlin. And I think he will tell us a bit more about that conference also in this session. So welcome, Hartmut Meyer. Our second panelist is Dr. Rumki Majumdar, sorry. And she's a director at Deloitte for South Asia. Dr. Majumdar is a business economist with a prolific portfolio in macroeconomic and industry research. Her expertise in economic forecasting and her contributions of over 50 thought leadership reports have established her as a significant voice in economic forums globally, including her participation in Business 20 conferences and her ongoing work with the G20 Labor Minister Council. Welcome also to you to our talk. This is an election year, and Dr. Meyer, looking at micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, how can they best navigate the maybe increased uncertainties that come with a year with so many crucial elections on the table?
Small and medium-sized enterprises, in particular in Germany or in Europe as a whole, for talking about the European election, they just look for stability. They would look like for a stable economic policy in order to make their own investment plans. Particularly here in Germany, we just noticed we have even a decreasing GDP. This just means that small and medium-sized companies are not really sure how to invest, how the economy is going, how the energy prices are going on, what happened to labor shortages. One of the biggest problems we are facing is bureaucracy, and bureaucracy just inhibits at the moment the compatibility of smaller companies. And these are now the big focus and the big hopes of SMEs, that these problems will be addressed, including that they're hoping again back for a peace in Europe.
So stability, you said that is most important to those companies. So less important, you would say, than the actual policies, is as long as they know what's happening, they know what's coming, they can adapt to it. Is that kind of the idea?
Yes. yes, smaller companies and in particular entrepreneurship, they all have got the chances and the ability to adjust to a changing environment, as we have seen, okay, also if we're talking about the sustainability goals and so on. This is not the problem. But okay, they can adjust their plans, they can adjust their business models, they can adjust their financial structure. But instability, this is just one of the major threats for economic welfare and economic development. And this is just happening. In particular, it happens here in Germany, as we haven't got even, okay, by our federal government, a clear government policy, a clear economic policy. They're just going twist around, taking subsidies up, bringing subsidies back, and so on. And this is not a climate for investment, for long-term plans.
Okay, so the flexibility that maybe also is an advantage of the smaller size, you can change course more quickly, you can adapt to certain circumstances, but obviously you want to know ideally what's coming around the corner and what happens with elections, at least if the outcomes are more or less uncertain, then of course that is hard to predict. Dr. Majumdar, from the South Asian or in particular Indian perspective, obviously in India, I mean, there are elections coming up, but there are also many micro and small enterprises throughout the country. How is the situation for them and how are they looking at especially the Indian elections that are coming up?
Right. So right after the pandemic, the situation with MSMEs was quite dire, given the fact that the MSMEs do struggle with credit, in terms of size and growth. They are quite small, and the unprecedented fall in demand and the disruptions that supply chain in India saw during those periods had an impact on MSMEs. Thankfully, they are coming out of it and coming out stronger. In the last few quarters, we have seen the situation improved quite well. They have improved their balance sheets. They are now taking more loans from the banks. Thanks to the digitization efforts by the government, there is a lot of traction among MSMEs to get onto the online platforms. The fact that they are tying up with all the e-commerce platforms, they are able to expand their customer size, customer base, and also are able to tap into the formalized credit system. Because what is happening is in India, the digital infrastructure has matured a lot, and because of which, and government has also supported this initiative as well, because of which the MSMEs are now able to share their daily transactions, the credit worthiness to the banks, and that is becoming their background for the history for credit uptake from the formalized sector. So in a way, a lot of aspects have helped the MSME sector to come out of the pandemic shadow and improve their balance sheets. With the elections around the corner, I don't think there is much of an uncertainty around there, because more or less there is an expectation that the incumbent government will continue. But even if it doesn't, India has seen a very smooth transitions from one government to the other, and that has been historically been true. So even then, we expect policies to be continued, the support to the MSME sectors to continue, and the revival in the sector to remain more resilient.
Dr. Majumdar, you mentioned the elections in India. They are starting now soon in April. They will go over several weeks. But as you rightly said, that the outcome, or there is a fairly strong indication that the current government of Prime Minister Narendra Modi will continue, will form the next government as well. So in that sense, we're expecting stability. When it comes to politics and business in India, obviously we often hear about the big conglomerates trying to influence policy. They're very much in the spotlight. How is the role of small and medium-sized companies when it comes to shaping and influencing government policy? Do they play a role? And if so, which formats do they use, or which platforms do they use to make their voices heard?
Absolutely. And there is the fact fact that the MSMEs are pretty much the backbone of Indian in industries, given that they are contributing to almost 30% of the GDP, for around 40% of the employment, and that they have a very significant presence in the in the policy making, in policy formulation, and wherever the and in fact over the last few years, when situation was dire for MSMEs, there was a constant feedback coming from the MSMEs for asking for financial support, and that's why the government did proactively support, stepped in through different schemes by giving them guarantees on the loans, helping them restructure the loans if need be, extending them other support through financial ways, and so that they can survive the pandemic. And this has been a back and forth effort. So many a times the government has actually extended those support, given that there was a demand that the MSMEs still need these support, and hence I would say there's been a very, very proactive engagement with the government, and the government has also made an effort to reach out to the MSME sector, to the exporters of small and large scale, and try to ensure that their demand and their issues are heard on a constant basis. So that way, I think the government has made an effort that, and it's been all the policies that have been taken over the last few years have been very successful in helping MSMEs to come back up.
Let me now welcome and introduce our third panelist, Chandrakant Salunkhe. Welcome to the Indo-German Business Talk. Mr. Salunkhe is the founder and president of the SME Chamber of India and of the Europe-India SME Business Council. So our audience immediately will realize that there is a good reason for you to be on this talk, because this is exactly what we're talking about. He's also a serial entrepreneur and has been a pivotal figure in fostering SME growth and advocacy since founding the Macro Group of companies. His leadership has led to substantial policy reforms that benefited many SMEs, and he has been at the forefront of several initiatives such as the Startups Council of India and the SME Stock Exchange that show his commitment to enhancing SME competitiveness on a global scale. Mr. Salunkhe, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning and good afternoon to you.
Thank you.
We've just started talking a little bit about elections, both in Europe coming up and obviously also in India, and the role of SMEs. So also to you the question, especially in India, how are SMEs or MSMEs looking to the elections? Are they in any way affected or bothered by it, or is it a foregone conclusion already that basically the government and its policies will stay as they are?
Thank you for inviting me for this panel discussion. Friends, the India is one of the largest country in the democracy, and particularly putting efforts for the empowerment of SME sector for last 20-25 years. The government of central government particularly putting efforts to creating the level playing field for the SME sector, especially for the micro and tiny and small enterprises. Those are operating their business in a rural area. Looking at the current situation in the election mode, the India has announced the general election on the 4th June will be the announcement of the winners. But during this next 2 months, it will be a crucial time for the SME sector, because almost all the businesses, all the corporates, all the institutions will be focusing on the election activities. Therefore, there will be an impact on the SME sector, particularly casual labor, casual manpower will be diverted from the industry to particularly the activities and the operational activities of the election activities. And therefore, it will be light impact on the SME sector, particularly productivity wise, production wise, and of course the efficiency wise, because most of the MSMEs in India are totally dependent on the casual labor, casual manpower, and especially for the rural area. This is one point. We have already informed the government of India, particularly the Minister of Labor, Minister of MSME, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, that The political parties, those are organizing some campaigning or some promotional activities for their candidates. It should not be impact over our Indian SMEs, because they are depend on the whole totally on the business, and they are focusing on their business growth. So it should not be impact, because sometimes in some region the business closed down. It is a huge loss to entrepreneur, and it is impact to labor also, the manpower also, and the employment also. So this is point. But nevertheless, the current government under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi, it's doing very well, and they are providing lot of level playing field. They are bringing out the various policies, various schemes, various incentives program for the empowerment of the SME sector, especially for the global competitiveness. The SME entrepreneurs are now developing their business activity not only in India, they are also stepping out to set up the business, set up the manufacturing unit in the various parts of the world. So this is a good opportunity. We can also think about Indo-German Business Talk, that how Indian companies can get opportunity to set up their business in Germany, and how the German SMEs or German companies can collaborate with the Indian SMEs. So there also we can think in next session. Thank you.
Thank you. I would now like to pose a question to our audience. So the question is, generally, are MSMEs less represented than larger businesses in electoral processes? So you can go to Slido either by using the QR code or by opening up the Slido web page and inputting the number there, the code, and we can then see how you voted. So far we have 100% yes, but there's only one vote, so people are still clicking on the buttons. So let's see how that goes. In the meantime, I'd like to go back to Hartmut Meyer. We heard a little bit about India now, different perspectives from our two panelists. What about elections in Germany and the role of, in particular, medium-sized companies? Obviously, they're always been named as the backbone of the German economy, the famous German Mittelstand. Do they have a lot of influence in elections, or is that something that is more the domain of the big multinational corporations?
Well, okay, it used to be a little bit more the domain of larger corporations. Anyway, we only have in 2 years general elections here in Germany. We are facing currently much more the election to the European Parliament. And I think in particular in January or in the last past, we had general strikes of entrepreneurs, the farmer strikes and other strikes. And this was just a very, very big movement in Germany, where people just awaked, yes, because at the final declaration on the 18th of January this year in Germany, this was something that never happened in Germany. About more than 20 associations representing different branches, different ideas of small and medium-sized company stood side by side and protesting, saying to the government, no, stop it, yeah? We want a market-orientated economic policy. We want clear planning securities. We want clear, energy prices, and we want also stop bureaucracy and so on. I think this was just a shock, more or less, to everybody. As well, the farmers in France and so went on strike and went on demonstrations. And this just showed now, everybody knows smaller companies do have a very big political power if they stand side by side. And as for me, as you mentioned earlier, being president of a small and medium-sized consultancy plan, all of a sudden they think, but this power must be bundled, and this bundle is in Germany by association, Chamber of Commerce, and so on. And all of a sudden politics start more to listen to these associations in order to form future economic policy. This is something where we have back a shift. Well, Germany is always known for its Mittelstand, for a strong Mittelstand. 94% of all companies and workplaces are based on small, medium-sized enterprise and Mittelstand. But still, okay, because each individual is so small, they have been a little bit neglected. And this just, the focus went back very dramatically in the last months in Germany, as well in the whole of Europe.
You mentioned the role of associations to bundle the interest of smaller players, and obviously Germany being a country of associations, that's also something that people say that, you know, we Germans, we love to form associations, whether it's about sports or leisure or hobbies or obviously professional purposes. How is that in India, Mr. Salunkhe? Obviously, you had the SME Chamber of India, but generally speaking, how is the role of associations in kind of bundling interests, especially of smaller players such as MSMEs?
See, SME Chamber of India is playing very, very important role for last 30 years. As a serial entrepreneur, I started this initiative because to integrate the small entrepreneurs or mid-corporate entrepreneurs together to establish business cooperation, enhance business connectivity with the local and global companies, also to utilize the advanced and affordable and patented technology, identify emerging market, and mostly set up the businesses in India, say like a manufacturing units as a state of art with the advanced technology, industrial automation, so that we can compete with the German companies, we can compete with the European companies, we can compete with the Japanese companies, because Indian entrepreneurs are contributing, or the employees are contributing, business growth in the different countries and the different companies. So why not we can use that brain drain in India, particularly to improve the capacity, capabilities, and industrial automation, particularly for the manufacturing for India market as well as the global market. Our honorable Prime Minister has given, the message to, Indian community, Indian businessmen, and especially for the SME sector to empower themselves for a local market. Before going global market, first manufacture your product at the international level, international standard for local market, so that we can reduce the imports and then we can give large employment. So therefore, we are following the instructions and the directions as per the honorable Prime Minister, as per our government, and mostly here, let me give a very important thing. Our banks, Indian banks, strongly supporting Indian MSMEs, Indian SMEs, because in India, rather, I have advocated for the collateral fee loan up to Indian rupees, 5 crore. Okay, to any entrepreneur, those are looking for collateral, they can obtain. I have initiated and advocated for the SME stock exchange, which is one of the largest platform for Indian SMEs to enter in capital market. Third, I have initiated the trade receivable platform, which is when we supply to large corporate government departments, where we get the instant money from the that trades platform. That is one. So most importantly, we are transformed the MSME Act. It is equal to the international combination. Say like Indian SMEs can compete or compare with the German companies, Japanese companies. So these are the transformation we have done for
Good.
last 5 years.
Excellent. Yeah. So even small players can play a role if they have associations that represent them, that bundle their interests. Let us look very quickly at the poll that you filled out to see the results. And generally, you said that yes, as MSMEs are less represented than larger businesses in electoral processes, although there was also a third of the people who said that that was not actually the case. I would now like to open it up a little bit because we have another word in the title of today's talk, and that is geopolitics. So it's not just about elections, but it's also about the wider international environment. And in fact, we do have a question from one of our audience members in that respect, and I will read it to you. And the question is, investing in geostrategy can be costly. How can governments support smaller businesses here? And I would like to pass that question on to Dr. Majumdar. First of all, when you hear geostrategy, what does that mean for you? And then looking at the question for small and medium-sized companies, how can maybe governments support companies in implementing such a strategy?
Right. And to be honest, yes, the way the geopolitics is changing over the years, and we have seen uh, the West and the East of the world having conflicts. There is U.S. imposing restrictions on China, then China trying to expand its borders. In the Middle East, we have seen geopolitical tensions happening. All these have implications of MSMEs, and that's where it impacts the MSME exports, it impacts the MSME networks, relationships, supply chain. The cost of production goes up because of oil price shooting up, shipping prices going up, and all these kind of affects MSMEs the most because they are the ones who have a lesser cushion to deal with these unprecedented circumstances. So the strategy definitely is very important, and that's the reason why Mrs. Salunkhe actually mentioned that the associations do reach out to the government for help with the different kind of support that they need, even during the pandemic, as I mentioned, that the guarantee schemes that were needed. There was a constant dialogue with the associations and the government to understand where there is an intervention needed and how the government should step in and help. Besides that, one, as I was mentioning earlier, one of the biggest strategy the government has taken is through digitization. And using digital platforms, they are trying to reach out to the MSMEs by advancing them more credit. They're helping them get access to bigger consumer database. For example, we have this platform that is called ONDC, which is Open Network Digital Commerce Platform. This is an open network. Anybody can come in. It's not like an Amazon platform or a Flipkart platform where where it is actually being run by a particular company. But ONDC is much more has democratized e-commerce for MSMEs, where anybody can launch and anybody can have access to the information. Even banks are getting onto this platform to get information on MSMEs, lend them money. The ONDCs are able to tap into a bigger set of customers because customers are able to see a much wider range of options for themselves. So these are some of the very small but radical innovations that are making a difference. And these are the strategies that the government is taking to deal with such some unprecedented circumstances. Okay, if exports are getting hurt because of the global uncertainty or global economic slowdown, let's tap into the global in the domestic consumer base. And India has a huge consumer base there. So why not leverage that to our benefit? And that's what the government is trying to do, and trying to get the MSMEs, small shops, go beyond their geographic borders and reach out to the customers within India itself. So definitely these some of the tweaks that the government is doing in small ways is helping the MSME sector in a big manner.
I think here small and medium-sized enterprises, their export market is the European market. About 80% of the exports of SMEs are within the European community, because the European community and the market is just not the market of big tankers, it's just more of small and flexible vessels. And that's why also this SME sector is looking very much for a stable European and common market so that they can do the export. On the other hand, certainly also they're also worried about protectionism, maybe arising with China, maybe arising with US for the next war. But okay, what they really focus on SME is on a strong and functioning internal common market. And this is the home base for SMEs.
Yes, thank you very much for this clarification. And obviously, the European Union is a large market. However, India itself obviously is at least in terms of the number of population, an even bigger internal market. And Dr. Majumdar also pointed out that it is important for a country such as India to focus on its internal market as well. Dr. Meyer, looking at Germany in particular, Germany is and has been an export nation for many, many decades. Including many specialized mid-sized companies that maybe we haven't heard about because they're kind of operating in small niches. They're highly specialized, but they have had for many decades a very international business model. How do German companies operate in an environment that has, to a certain extent, always been volatile?
Well, okay, the main focus of small and medium-sized companies are as the so-called hidden champions. They're highly specialized. Often they're just specialized in order to make also investment, machinery, mechanical engineering, and things happen. And they're so specialized that they often have got a monopoly on certain inventions, innovations, and so on. And this makes them very, very stable. That is a very, very stable environment which they are able to act. And certainly they have got a strong support, in particular, for example, by the Chamber of Commerce, opening them the markets, having got also the bureaucracy and trade tariffs and so on to be organized so that this is functioning very well. And a lot of also consultancy support provided by the state, allowing, enabling to give them the knowledge and transfer the knowledge into the company to make them stable, to make also them able to export into the countries like China, India, or whatever. I think this is one of the major features in Germany. Of course, it has been done by export within Europe, but this was one of the main things in Germany that makes companies so stable and so strong in export.
Dr. Meyer, I know that you're not necessarily an expert on India per se, but in your experience, is that something that India could replicate to a certain extent by doing with its mid-sized companies something similar to what the German economy was able to do?
Yes, well, I'm not aware about all the programs. I'm sorry about this, what you're all doing in India. But I would just strongly recommend to give, for example, export guarantees, that banks also offer them to take them the risk of collecting the money and so on, also to reduce the risk of transport and so on. This is something which in Germany is quite often done. And then, okay, you can replicate it as well to bring it over here to Germany.
Thank you. Mr. Salunkhe, I'd like to pose a similar question to you. In your experience, what could German companies, micro and small and medium-sized companies in Germany, learn from the experience of the Indian side?
Oh, there are plenty of things, but mostly the Indian companies are following the lot of successful steps taken by the German companies, particularly for the transformation in technology or industrial automation and development. But nevertheless, Indian companies are also very very strong and very sharp, particularly for the manufacturing sector. I know a lot of German companies also looking for collaboration with Indian. Let me give my some thoughts through you and to circulate amongst the German companies. Nowadays, German companies are also knocking the door of India, particularly to set up their manufacturing unit or set up their businesses. I can offer one thing because we have started SME industrial parks of India, where we are identifying the industrial land from the government or private sector, ready-made industrial land, also the ready-made industrial premises or ready-made industrial premises. Those are having the existing manufacturing units. Say for example, German company doesn't want to buy a land, doesn't want to buy a industrial premises. They can join hands with the local companies with their current setup, manufacturing setup. Rather, it is the best setup also. So they can collaborate with the Indian companies for manufacturing product, because manpower, taxation, all this, a lot of overheads in Germany, they can use the Indian companies platform or Indian companies manufacturing units to produce their quality products for the local or global market. This is one. And second thing, a lot of companies are also doing contract manufacturing. If any German company is looking, my SME Chamber of India will definitely support them to identify the right business partner, genuine business partner, and the company those are having this setup. We have also started through our SME Chamber of India that SME credit check platform. Through that, all the investigations, information, particularly the information of the company, the credibility, creditworthiness, the capacity, the manpower, the mindset of the board, all the information we are started providing to the foreign companies, so that they will not face any problem, no litigation to be come up, and they can do peacefully cooperation, collaboration, and contribution for the local market also.
Dr. Majumdar, there are many German companies, obviously, that have a presence in India, and many have had a presence there for quite a significant time. The automotive industry, obviously, companies such as Bosch, I think, have been there for more than 100 years. More recently, companies such as the IT company SAP, which has big operations in India. But it often seems that those are the big companies. And when you look at mid-sized companies, there is much more of a reluctance. Do you have any idea of why that may be?
That is probably because one, our MSMEs are yet not as competitive, so they still have they still have resource challenges to scale up, and again, formalization. A large chunk of them are in the informal sector, so they don't have the right exposure. So all these are some of the issues which India has been facing for a very long time, and these are some structural issues that need to be addressed before they can actually go and collaborate with global MSMEs. So scale issues, resource, technology, networking, knowledge. These factors are kind of areas where the government is also focusing on very proactively, and in fact a lot of collaborations that is happening in with the German itself, where we are noticing that there is collaboration on skill development. There is collaboration in strengthening the infrastructure of quality infrastructure, or reducing the technical trade barriers, um, and also in the green technology. All these, some of the collaborations are happening, but at a very small scale. A large chunk of the MSMEs are yet to participate in it. Until we address these structural issues and help them, these MSMEs, to go beyond their limitations, we will probably be able to tap into the potential of what we have.
Okay, Dr. Meyer.
Yes, I just wanted to add one thing to the speech of Mr. Salunkhe. One thing is that's very important is to have also clear international contracts and clear contractual procedures, because the German companies, and as such, they don't like very much risk. We are not very much a risk-taking nation. And for these reasons, to have clear also judicial and legal procedures and clear contracts which are accepted in both legal systems are very and highly important for the support of SMEs and the support of the establishing business relationship. That's what I just wanted to add on your what we were just saying before.
Let's maybe talk in the remaining time that we have about an issue that it kind of links maybe elections, geopolitics, and the companies that we're addressing here together quite nicely. And that is the possibility, at least, of a free trade agreement between India and the European Union that has been discussed for a long time, on and off, with different levels of enthusiasm. Dr. Majumdar, do you think that this may be in the cards in the next year, something like that?
The government has been very enthusiastic about FTAs in the last few years. In fact, recently we have this EFTA that we signed with Switzerland and some of the Scandinavian countries, and then the one with the UK is still under talks. It's been quite prolonged for now, but I think they are pretty much in coming to a closure at that. But yes, the government is showing a lot of enthusiasm in having these bilateral, multilateral trades. And of course, we have learned that we bring onto the table certain competitive advantages, not just labor, but in terms of innovations, in terms of market access. All these are some of the strengths that we have, and we would like to leverage these, not in terms of just doing business, but also in terms of collaborating, in terms of skill exchange, in terms of investments, and a lot more all-rounder prospects that the government is looking at. And I'm sure the ones with the European nations many other European nations will be also on cards, the basis where we see both countries mutually benefiting from each other.
Dr. Meyer, what's your take on that? Do you think it's going to happen? And if so, would that be a game changer for MSMEs, or is it something that is more important actually to larger companies?
No, it will be a game changer for small and medium-sized enterprises as well, and not in Germany, also in the whole of Europe, to foster and strengthen the cooperation between the two countries and so on. But as I said just earlier, we just must do it, okay, via direct contracts, via associations, and as well, okay, to have a whole body strengthen the content of the business relationship, also to give the SMEs the necessary resources and stability to do these business and contracts.
We have another question from the audience, and the question is the following. Can there be more balance in responsibility between MSMEs and larger businesses? For example, MSMEs are more risk conscious and they are more affected by regulation, such as the AI Act. And I assume that that makes reference to the European Union AI Act. Mr. Salunkhe, is that something you would want to address? Is that true that MSMEs are more risk conscious than large corporations? Are they also more affected by these kinds of regulations?
Yes, of course, every regulations are beneficial or impacting also. So each and every entrepreneur do study, understand the potentiality, understand the uses, understand the impact, and also understand the the loss of using or not using this kind of any particular product, technology, or anything. Because nowadays Indian SMEs are particularly learning and understanding and educated properly about market, technology, economy, banking, international trade, capital market. So there is a change in a particularly mindset. Rather, after the pandemic, every entrepreneurs understand the technology is the most important. Without technology, without digital platform, we are now meeting. You are in Germany, I am in Mumbai, so we are also meeting because of the technology. So this is a transformation happening this way. So I'm sure that every entrepreneurs, every enterprise here is focusing on the adopting advanced technology, new technology, and affordable technology, so that they can enhance their efficiency, so that they can focus on their productivity and particularly contribution.
I have another question from the audience, and I'd like to pose that question to Hartmut Meyer. And the question is the following. It is important for German MSMEs to go global, but many have been Europe focused. And in fact, you've already mentioned that. How can they make the transition to a global player?
Well, okay, the first transition to be a global player is certainly to define your own product strategy, to define your own place in the market itself. This is one of the things. The second thing is actually to gain the necessary resources and knowledge, which just means, okay, that they just form with banks and so on, of securities, the national contract. And the third bit is to use the network as offered here by India, as offered by the German Chamber of Commerce and other various associations here, to enter the market on a big packing place or having a control manufacturing or whatever, so that they just produce in the first place the knowledge and not having the full risk of setting up an own business about in a different environment. I think this is just something where people need to take the first step. But of course, there must be a lot of trust building efforts between the two countries and be guided these process. And then, okay, also small and medium-sized enterprise will become very quickly a global player.
I can add here a few things if you want.
Yes.
See, German companies are looking to exit from the Germany because of the labor, costly labor, taxation, and they are looking the opportunity in the European. But I invite and request through your channel that if they want to enter in Indian market, I know there are plenty of organization, plenty of platforms supporting them. But SME Chamber of India will be happy to support the German companies. Those are looking to set up their manufacturing unit. Those are looking joint venture. Those are looking for contract manufacturing, technology transfer. Even we can also supply through our members particular industrial products,
Right.
capital goods, machines. So they can
Okay.
use
Yeah.
the India is a emerging platform for their manufacturing and setting up businesses.
Okay. That's a great offer. Thank you very much, Hartmut Meyer.
Yes, yeah, I agree about this one, but platforms and everything, that's what I notice every day also in my consulting business, is not the first step to get leads, to get contacts, but the trust between people, and the trust also in business only be built if people know each other, if they see each other, interact each other. And I think we need to also to guide the second step rather than making contacts and so on. This is often what I notice why things are not developing in this way we'd like to have it. We must have like fairs, we must have also personal contacts within each country, so that in particular small and medium-sized enterprise, and this is independent whether you have young people or older people, they build only trust up if they know that people buy in person. This is one of the main things. We can talk, we can exchange knowledge, we can negotiate and everything. But this trust needs to be built and these needs to be empowered. This is one of the very crucial points.
Thank you. We're almost at the end of our talk, so I have one final question. I'd like to pose that to Dr. Rumki Majumdar. Given what we've heard about elections, about geopolitical instabilities, about the needs and also the possibilities of micro, medium, and small enterprises, what do you think? In which ways could India and Germany collaborate to help circumnavigate some of the difficulties and the issues and the complexities that we've been discussing here today?
Yeah, so Matthias, before I answer that question, I'll also like to add to what Meyer said, that the trust is very important. But there is one more point I want to say, is India is very aspirational. And what the government is trying to do is to collaborate with other countries, bring in its potential in terms of its workforce, in terms of its innovation abilities. And that is where we are reaching out. And as Mr. Salunkhe said, that we are building that infrastructure so that it's easier for outsiders to come in. It's a plug and play infrastructure that we are bringing in, and that's something which will help that leap of faith to be faster and more effective. Now, coming to your questions, yes, during this elections, there is a lot of uncertainties, and what we I'm sorry, what was the last point you said regarding
the question was, how could India and Germany
collaborations? Yes. So in what government is trying to do is emphasize on manufacturing, and that too in sunrise sectors. And this is a place where there's a lot of potential to collaborate. And given that Germany is from the leaders in the manufacturing sector, areas like auto components, EVs, green technology, defense, all these are some of the booming areas where the government is actually emphasizing a lot on. And that is where probably the two industries can collaborate and start and bring in new innovations and ways of approaching, bring in new products and services. And I see a lot of collaboration that can happen between the two countries. We can bring in our skills, we can bring in our labor, you can bring in your technology and your expertise. And I think we can actually open up new doors to many more potentials, I suppose.
Great. I think that is actually an excellent closing statement for this talk. And obviously, there would be so much more that we could discuss. That's what happens if you have interesting topics and also interesting guests. Unfortunately, we're already at the end. So thank you very much to our three panelists. Thank you also very much to our audience for listening, for asking questions, for contributing to this session. And as always, we'll have another talk coming up next month. So please make sure to join it. We're streaming live on LinkedIn. So if you haven't done so, please do follow our page there, and you can get updates about anything that we put out. Obviously, we also have a mailing list that you can subscribe to. You will also get all of the information about this format, but also about the many other activities that we have there. Thank you very much once again, and have a great day.
Thank you very much. All the best.